Hello everyone, welcome back to LewisFiction, and welcome to What If Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4 actually happened. In this video, we're going to go through an alternate universe where potentially the film actually came out. What are the ramifications on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and what are the ramifications on Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and how does everything turn out? Let's find out. Let's take it back to 2007, the year Spider-Man 3 came out. In this alternate universe, Spider-Man 3 had just come out to poor reviews, but an amazing showing at the box office. Sam Raimi gets to work straight away on Spider-Man 4, which Sony announces the release date as May 2011. However, in this alternate set of events, Sam Raimi doesn't end up walking away from the project and insists trying to make the film even though he isn't happy with the script. He pleads with Sony to push the film back to 2013 to give him more time to get the story into place where it needs to be. But Sony have a deadline to make a live-action feature film for Spider-Man before the rights automatically revert back to Marvel. And since the rise of the MCU, Sony couldn't allow one of the most profitable fictional characters in the world go to a competitor. Sam Raimi is almost backed into a corner, determined to right the wrongs of Spider-Man 3 with the fourth film. However, Sony are strict with him and demand the film for 2011, with two other sequels, Spider-Man 5 and 6, also planned for 2013 and 2015. In fact, the pressure keeps building, and the Sony execs make it even worse for Raimi after seeing the success of Spider-Man 3 financially, greenlighting the pre-production of two spin-off films for Spider-Man related characters: Venom, who will be played by Topher Grace, and a Sandman film which will follow the character post Spider-Man 3. Both of these films Raimi has no control over, but is being pressured to be a part of. Spider-Man 4 ends up entering production in 2009 without a finished script, similar to what happened with the third film, but worse. This time, Sam Raimi doesn't have much belief in the story or the journey for Peter Parker. The villain is to be the Vulture, played by John Malkovich. Vulture's a brand new original villain created by Raimi himself to be played by Angelina Jolie. J.K. Simmons, Kirsten Dunst, and Rosemary Harris also return alongside Anne Hathaway, who is poached from Christopher Nolan and Warner Bros. To play Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat. Dylan Baker's Lizard would also appear in the film as well. After the film is finished and eventually releases in cinemas, it's met with even worse reviews than the third film, with Sam Raimi pleading that he needed more time. Due to this, the studio and Raimi end up falling out, with Raimi arguing that the film needed more time, and thus the plans for Spider-Man 5 and 6 are swiftly cancelled. However, Sony needs to reboot the character and get a new film into production as early as humanly possible. This is when Amy Pascal and Sony Pictures are approached by Kevin Feige and Bob Iger at Disney and Marvel Studios. The year is 2012, and Marvel Studios just released their hit film The Avengers, which not only was a success at the box office, but critically was praised across the board, and was the first film in history to bring so many main characters together in one film, including Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, Chris Evans as Captain America, and Chris Hemsworth's Thor. The Avengers would act as a springboard for the rest of the cinematic universe. Feige tells Pascal that he's aware that Sony are in a tight spot after the unfortunate critical flop that was Spider-Man 4. Since Spider-Man is one of the most popular superheroes in the world, Kevin Feige sees this as an opportunity for them to join forces and to have a rebooted Spider-Man appear in the MCU. Feige maps out the trajectory of the character, with him getting a solo film to go into production in late 2012 and for the film to release in late 2014, just before Avengers Age of Ultron, in which Spider-Man will have a main role among the other Avengers. The future Spider-Man films will be funded by Sony Pictures, but will be under creative control of Marvel Studios to ensure the character is treated fairly and with respect. However, Amy Pascal rejects this idea, shoving it back in Feige's face. She believes that Sony can make more profit by doing their own cinematic universe out of Spider-Man's characters, also believing that a lot of the Spider-Man characters in Spider-Man's mythos to be a lot stronger than the characters that Marvel has access to. Sony leaves the meeting and only a month later announces a full Spider-Man cinematic universe to compete with the MCU, called the Amazing Spider-Man Cinematic Universe. The films that they announce in Chapter 1 are as follows: The Amazing Spider-Man, Kraven the Hunter, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Parker Sins Past, and The Sinister Six. Their first target to play Spider-Man in this new universe is Andrew Garfield. However, Garfield sees the unhinged nature and cash grab that Sony are trying to achieve, and after looking through plans and scripts, Garfield decides that he doesn't want to butcher a character that he's loved growing up, so decides to reject the job. Sony then approach another rising star in Hollywood, Josh Hutcherson, who had just made a name for himself through the Hunger Games franchise. Hutcherson takes the role, and a brand new Spider-Man cinematic universe is underway. In just less than 2 years, The Amazing Spider-Man is released in summer 2014, and it's absolutely awful. It's the worst performing superhero movie of the last 5 years, even more so than Spider-Man 4. The film tried to set up too much for the future that it forgot about the story it was meant to tell in the present, and thus flopped miserably, not painting a good light on Hutchinson's name as an actor. It flopped that bad that Sony had to concede the rest of their plans for a universe of Spider-Man characters and cancel any upcoming films. Another plan for a reboot is put into place by Sony until they are once again approached by Marvel and Kevin Feige to include Spider-Man in the MCU once again. However, this time the character would debut in the film Captain America Civil War in 2016, followed by a solo film to release in Phase 3 in 2017. Sony eventually conceded to Marvel, seeing them as the only lifeline for success. They signed the deal and casting for Spider-Man begins. Sony suggests Andrew Garfield as the perfect candidate, but Marvel object, saying they want a younger Spider-Man, someone who could carry the franchise forward for years to come. Thus, a young Tom Holland is cast in the role. From there on out, Tom Holland goes on to appear in Homecoming, Infinity War, Endgame, Far From Home, and a third Spider-Man film. However, due to the unsuccess of Josh Hutcherson's Spider-Man film and the sour note that fans were left with after Raimi's Spider-Man 4, Sony and Marvel both opt out of making Spider-Man 3 a multiverse film, even though it was on the cards. Even though the multiverse saga in the MCU is in full swing, and it would be really cool to adapt the Spider-Verse comics that had just been released by Dan Slott and Marvel Editorial, Sony and Marvel decide against making a multiverse Spider-Man film because they don't feel like they have the right ingredients to do so. Tom Holland at this point in time is the most popular Spider-Man that they have ever had, even more so than Tobey Maguire, and definitely more so than Josh Hutcherson. They believe there just isn't enough love around Tobey Maguire and Josh Hutcherson's Spider-Man for it to be substantial enough to include them both in minor roles. Therefore, Marvel and Sony both agree to take Spider-Man 3 in a different direction, announcing Kraven the Hunter as the main villain, who would go on to hunt Spider-Man down after his identity had been revealed at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Michael Keaton would also be brought back to play Adrian Toomes, playing a crucial role in Peter's identity crisis. Likewise, to pay off Homecoming's post-credit scene, Michael Mando's Scorpion will also be a feature villain in the film as well. The film would go on to be the most successful Spider-Man film of all time, and a real send-off for Thomas Peter, who eventually then gets to get a fourth film and a college trilogy, successfully, unlike Sam Raimi's Spider-Man before him. And there you have it, that is what if Spider-Man 4 by Sam Raimi actually happened. Thanks for watching this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to like on it and also make sure to subscribe. On the screen, you can see some videos that you may like if you enjoyed this one. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit the post notification bell. Thank you very much to the members. You guys are absolutely awesome. Click the join button if you do want to support the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.